All righty, Alan.
Welcome to our second Cooking Without Looking TV
Right here, Al.
Quarantine Cuisine Edition, powered by Zoom.
Yes, and today we're so excited because we're going to bring you some real tasty and creative recipes that are going to be great for the holidays. In fact, you may like them so much that you want to carry on the tradition with your family even the following season.
Hey, Annette, I noticed that you're preparing one of your deliciously healthy vegan sauces.
Yes, Alan, I'm so excited to show you this because who doesn't like cheese? It's such a comfort food, but this is a vegan alternative. It's called my Easy Cheesy Peasy Sauce.
I love it. That sounds fabulous. We've also got our very own Ralph Smith, who's preparing jerk turkey on the grill.
Yes, and then we're going to have Brianna Lawson. Guess what she's making? She's got some reindeer peppermint bark for us. So we got a sweet tooth up there. You're going to love it.
Wow. And then on Food for Thought, we have Sylvia Stinson Perez, the director of the Older Individuals Who Are Blind Technical Assistance Center, known as the OIB-TAC, at the National Research and Training Center on Blindness and Low Vision at Mississippi State University.
Wow, that sounds great. I just want to clarify.
She'll give us some tips for expert cooking during the holidays if you are blind or visually impaired.
Well, that's great, Alan. And also, we just want to remind everybody that Cooking Without Looking is the only TV show that features blind and visually impaired people because we want to teach you a different way to see blindness.
Yes.
How many years have you prepared your Thanksgiving turkey the same way? Well, today, Ralph Smith of our Cooking Without Looking Vision World Foundation team is showing us how to prepare jerk turkey on the grill. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Alan. How are you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm great. You know that I'm just a few miles away from you down there at the Braille Club. I'm here in West Palm Beach, too.
Well, you got to stop in and enjoy some of this jerk turkey I'm doing.
I plan to do that soon. Hey, Ralph, remind us a little bit about your journey through blindness.
Well, as you know, I became visually impaired and, well, actually blind in 2009, June 4th, 2009. I had brain surgery to remove a tumor. And after they removed the tumor, I had optical nerve damage, what they call optical nerve atrophy, where the nerve died. So I'm totally blind.
Yeah, totally blind now. That makes things a little bit tougher, but I see we're still out on the grill today. So tell us about this new way to prepare. So Ralph, tell us a little about this new way to prepare your turkey, your jerk turkey. Hey, that doesn't mean that the turkey is being a jerk, does it?
No, actually, jerking food a long way. It goes to the 1600s as it was recorded from the African slaves that got away on the island of Jamaica. And they used to take a lot of spices and actually marinate in the food and prepare it for a long time. And that's how jerk actually became popular in Jamaica.
Wow.
It's really interesting. What exactly is jerk spice?
Well, they use a lot of peppers, also a lot of other seasonings. I love to add a little citrus flavor to it, such as a mojo rub, which you can find that at any store, which is actually a bunch of limes, oranges, garlic, peppers, and I rub it onto the meat. Then I take a jerk rub, which is a dry jerk rub, and rub it on as well. I also coat it with olive oil before I apply jerk seasoning. Generally, a quarter cup of olive oil does well to adhere to the meat and also keeps it nice and tender and keep the juices in it. And after I do that, I take the meat, I actually rub all the seasonings over it after I prepare with the olive oil. And then I take a jerk marinade sauce and I rub it all over the meat, all inside of the turkey. And I take the turkey and then I bring it out to the grill and I smoke it for 2 hours at 180 and 200 degrees. After the 2 hours of smoking, then I cook it because I have a 10-pound bird. It requires about 30 minutes per hour, 30 minutes per half hour, or pound rather, 30 minutes per pound. I generally cook it for about 5 hours. So the whole process entails anywhere from 5 to 7 hours, depending upon the size of the bird. I usually like to use something small, 10 pounds or smaller, cooking time.
That's quite a while that takes to cook that. That's an all-day process.
Yes, all-day process, but the flavor of the meat and the actual taste of the bird is so delicious. You'll be trying to do it every Thanksgiving. But you guys are just in time because I'm getting ready to take off the turkey.
Well, that sounds really great. Say, while you're taking that off, could you tell us about what kind of side dishes you might serve with jerk turkey?
Well, today we have a side dish of macaroni and cheese, basic.
Oh, that sounds good.
The macaroni by putting different types of cheeses in it. And then we have some green vegetables in a salad. And also we have, everybody loves it, Hawaiian rolls, dinner rolls.
Oh, yes, I've had those. Those are good.
Yes, this camera girl is happy.
Say, now, I noticed that you're cooking this outdoors, and it's a beautiful day here in sunny South Florida, but my son and his family are from Minnesota, and I'm a little bit curious how you might prepare if it was really cold outside, you know, for my son and the family and the northern friends.
Well, from my understanding, they do a lot of cooking in the wintertime when they're able to get out without the snow for the grilling, but you can also prepare it in the oven. Then it's basically the same way, except you don't have that smoke flavor. You just have the jerk flavor.
Well, that sounds really great, Ralph. Thank you very much for giving us a new take on preparing a spicy holiday turkey for your guests that are sure to have some oohs and ahs. Well, now we go from a turkey with a kick to a holiday favorite without meat. Annette, tell us about your delicious meat-free holiday sauce.
Oh, thank you, Alan. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me today. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I want to say hello to everybody out there. It's blind and visually impaired, and we're also inclusive, so anybody else that's out there. This sauce that I'm making today is vegans love it, and I know Ralph was talking about some cheese, and those that like regular cheese, that's great. But this is great if you're lactose intolerant or you just want to reduce the saturated fat in your diet. And it's really, really easy peasy cheesy sauce. First, well, let's get started. First, what I did is I soaked some cashews overnight. And if you don't have that much time, at least do it for 2 hours. And that makes them soft and releases the enzyme in the cashews so they're easily digestible. And that's going to be the base for your cheese sauce. So first, what you do is you add about a cup to a cup and a half of water in a blender. Okay, now if you want it thicker, you'll add less water, but I always like to add about a cup and a half, and then later on I can add more if I want and make it a little bit more, saucy or liquidy, because it tends to get thick when you heat it. So
where are you trying to go?
Once you put your water in your Vitamix, you add your cashews. It's about a half a cup dry cashews. And what happens to the cashews is they tend to swell up after they've been soaking for like half a day or even overnight. So that's why it looks more for those that can see it. Next, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of what I call nutritional yeast. I don't know if you guys can see this. Nutritional yeast, you can get it anywhere in the stores right now. It's very popular. It's loaded with vitamins, minerals, and iron, B12. So you pour your nutritional yeast. I have a method here, I don't know if you noticed, but I have everything pre-measured out. It's kind of my little tip for the blind and visually impaired. I love it because I prepare everything in these little cups ahead of time and I measure it because I'm not very good with trying to do everything, you know, all at once. It's better to have all your ingredients ready. Okay, so in here we have a teaspoon of onion powder and a teaspoon of garlic powder. You also throw that in the Vitamix. I told you it's easy peasy. And then you got your salt and pepper. You're going to put about, let's see, half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of pepper. Already pre-measured. I pour that into the Vitamix. Next is turmeric. And why do we put turmeric in this cheesy sauce? Well, we want it to be orange like cheese. If you don't want it to be orange, you can leave it out and have more of a Alfredo flair to it. So that's about 1/8 of a teaspoon of turmeric. Next, we have, oh, I wish you could smell this, but it's vinegar. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Just the thought of it makes my mouth water. And here we have a tablespoon of what I call Bragg's amino acids. This is also trending now. It's been trending for a few years. It's like a soy sauce, so to speak, and it has some salty flavor. We're going to pour that in there. And that's it. I mean, there's a few, you know, ingredients, over 5 or 6, but that's okay. It's still easy to make. And this is so delicious. You're going to love it. Okay, it's going to be a little noisy for a couple seconds, but then it'll be fine. Ready, set, go. Okay, I say you're going to want to mix it for at least 30 seconds. And then what I'm going to do is pour it into a measuring cup because I want to use this right away and I want to warm it up in the microwave because there's nothing better than hot cheesy sauce. We don't want cold cheesy sauce. So we'll put that in there for like 30 seconds or so. In the meantime, I want to show you what I'm going to do. I made some pasta for mac and cheese. Who likes mac and cheese out there? Hey! I know most people do. Yes, I love pasta too. I'm Italian and I love pasta. Even if you're not Italian, you love pasta. But I always try to add greens to my pasta. So what I took here is a mix of kale and spinach. And I'm taking a scissors. I'm trying to describe for those who can't see. I'm taking the scissors and I'm just cutting up the spinach mixture into like a confetti form, just so it's tinier pieces. So you can put it in your little mouth. And then I also made a parsley pesto because you've got to get your greens in there. Yes, this is organic pasta. Yes, it's pure durum wheat, which is great, but you still want to add greens to it. So once you add your greens to your pasta, this has already been boiled and all that. It's all been cooked up pasta. They're little ziti pasta. I'm going to pour the cheese sauce. Where did I put it? There it is. Okay, now watch this. You can see, just pour the cheese sauce over that dish. And it starts to sing. It's amazing. And we're going to pour the cheese sauce over the corn chips. Yes. Can you see that creamy yumminess? Oh. Now we have extra. All you do is put it in a jar. I'm a jar. They call me the jar lady. They save a lot of these. Well, one that's empty, actually. You pour it in a jar and it lasts for like 4 or 5 days. So you can just take it out and put it back in. So now we got the cheese sauce in the pasta. And this is a little bit more liquidy than I would like. I would probably make it thicker. But what happens if you warm this up again in the microwave, the cheese sauce thickens up. So let's taste it and see how it is. Let me grab this. Oh, I can smell the sauce smells like cheese. Mmm. Mmm. It just makes my taste buds jump. The tanginess from the cheese and the saltiness from nutritional yeast and the crunchiness from the spinach, it all works together. So that's my recipe. Let's try the chips. I'm telling you guys, it tastes like real cheese without all the saturated fat. You have good fats from cashews. And you know what, you could use walnuts if you don't have cashews. That would work too. It's just an all.
Did we lose Annette? I can't hear Annette. Well, thank you, Annette. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm going to put on my other hat now. Let me just set this aside for a second. I'm excited now because, you know what? Who doesn't have a sweet tooth? And I'll tell you, during the holiday season, you got to have sweets. And this particular sweet is called, I call it Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Peppermint Bark. But, yeah, Brianna Lawson, who is joining us today, is going to make this reindeer peppermint bark for us. She's an amazing young lady. And welcome, Brianna, to our show. Yeah, it's so great to have you. And you know what? I heard your podcast the other day, and I was so impressed with you. When I heard you were 19, I was blown away because you are an amazing young lady, very mature and super, super soul. You got a what do I want to say? Like a deep soul type person. You have so much experience being blind, and I want you to tell us about your blindness today.
Okay. Actually, I'm 20 years old now, but
When was your birthday?
I turned 20 in August.
Oh, a happy birthday. Good to have you. You're old now.
Well, my blindness, I have an eye condition called optic nerve hypoplasia.
Okay.
It's where the optic nerves aren't fully developed. When I was born, I didn't have the amount of vision that I have now. When I was born totally blind, no light perception, couldn't see shadows, nothing, just total, complete darkness.
Wow.
But I started gaining my sight at about a year old, and it's been stable since 2012. And then at about around my high school year, I started getting retinal detachments and cataracts, and my vision has been improving a little bit since then. But my vision, it has never stopped me, and nor will I let it stop me. Honestly, I don't think people should look at their lack of vision as a roadblock. I think they should look at it as, they should look at it as a way to help them to succeed, but succeed in a different way than most people.
See, that's amazing to me. See what an old soul you are. I mean, you're. Brianna, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I just can't hear her.
Okay, well, let me try again. You said in your podcast that a lot of people that are not blind underestimate your abilities, and they call it a disability instead of you call it a different ability that
Yes.
you have. That you can do a lot of things, but they don't think you can. Can you expound on that, please?
Yes. I mean, some people, like who are not familiar with people who are blind and visually impaired, they automatically think, oh, they're blind, they can't do this, or they can't do that. Like they can't do a simple grocery shopping trip or things like that. But honestly, that is further from the truth, because just because we're blind, that doesn't mean that we can't do simple everyday things. Now here's where different ability comes into effect. I don't say disability because it's not about the things that we can't do. It's about what we can do and what we can do differently. And I think that everyone should have that state of mind, because we can do a lot of things that others don't know that we can do if they just, sat down and just learned all the things that we have done and what we can do. It will really blow their minds of how independent we really can be.
Excellent. You have such a great attitude, and something else that's going to blow everybody's mind is your peppermint bark. So tell us, Brianna, how you prepare your peppermint bark, please.
Okay, so the ingredients that are in this peppermint bark are mint Oreos, candy canes, peppermint M&Ms, and almond bark. So with
Can I stop you there for a second before you go on? I'm wondering, just one question before you go on, is your peppermint, you said almond bark. What exactly is that? Because I think other people might be confused. Is that chocolate made from almonds, or what is it?
I think it is chocolate made from almonds. I really don't know, but I think so. For me, I usually get all of my ingredients from Walmart, and I particularly go shopping for these ingredients on a day where they have a sale. Because for me, a little tip when you make a meal or a dessert like this, but don't want to spend much money, I usually go shopping on days where they do buy one, get ones or have a sale.
That's a good tip. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to find out about that almond bark because I want to make this as soon as we leave here today, because I heard it on the podcast. So go ahead, please continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. If you have any more questions, that's fine. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a roller and you're gonna roll the mint Oreos. You crush them up into small pieces. That way, every little piece can be crushed. And once you get done with that, usually a little tip that I do is, like, whenever I roll the Oreos and crush them, I roll it for a few times and I feel the Oreos to see if they're fully crushed, and then I'll start crushing them.
That looks like fun. It looks like fun to crush those. I think I would get all my anger out on that.
Yeah. So yeah.
So you're crushing your Oreos, and then you said you had peppermint candy canes, and you had M&Ms, and you had the almond bar. So what are you doing with those?
Okay, so that will come a little bit later. But now the Oreos are all crushed. I crushed them in a Ziploc bag. So now what I usually do, the cream is so stubborn. So what I usually do is I take a spoon and I just scrape everything so that way it'll all go down. Right.
That's a good idea because it sticks to the bag. Okay.
Yes, and then once I do that, I pour them all in a bowl. I pour them all in a bowl, like so. Okay. So I pour them all in a bowl.
How many do you use? How many Oreos? Do you use the whole bag or just half or what?
To be quite honest, you have to crush them so small, so you don't need that many. So I only use 10 Oreos.
Okay, that's a good amount.
I only use 10 Oreos. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crush the candy canes. Now, many of you here can agree that candy canes are such a pain to get out of the wrapper.
Yeah.
Well, I can solve that. My sister, who is very aware with my visual impairment and things like that, she taught me a very neat trick. So for this trick, what you do is you break the candy cane in half, and then you slide the broken half out of the wrapper.
Oh, I like that. That's
So
great.
that's what you do.
That's a great tip, Brianna.
Yes, but like I said, I can't take all the credit. My sister, she taught me that trick. So then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And take it out. And then do the same thing with this.
How many candy canes are you going to use? So far, like 10, give an idea. 10 Oreos, how many candy canes?
4 candy canes.
4 candy canes, okay.
Yes, because those also have to be crushed in a small piece. The 4th one, the wrapper already fell off, so that's okay.
Okay.
So then I put these in another Ziploc bag, and once I put them all in, I'm also going to roll them up. So I just put them in here, make sure there's no air going into the bag, close it up like so.
That's even a great tip for those that can see, because it keeps you from making a mess.
Yes, I've been doing this recipe like this for the 5 years that I've been making it.
Oh wow, 5 years. You started when you were very young.
I started during my I think my freshman or sophomore year making this.
Nice.
Yeah. So now you just take a roller and you crush the candy cane.
Ooh, another stress release for, yes.
Yes. So, I have the same tip with the Oreos. You just take your hand and you feel around the bag to see if you've crushed all of the candy canes.
Right.
Which I haven't, so I'm going to keep crushing them. Okay. Right.
I heard that you used to cook a lot with your grandmother. She started you on cooking, is that right? And she give you any good tips?
Oh yeah, she does a lot of things in the kitchen. She also, like me, loves to bake.
Oh.
She's really inspired me on cooking.
That's nice. That's so sweet. Literally.
Yeah. Just recently, she made peanut butter cookies. But, yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna keep crushing these till they're all crushed up.
Right. And you could hear and you could feel. You're using your other senses to see if it's done.
I use my hand to feel if all of them are crushed to how I like them. And yes, they are. So now I'm going to put the roller aside because I'm done with that. And I'm going to do the same like I did with the Oreos. I have a separate bowl here. And then I'm going to pour the candy cane pieces into the bowl.
Okay, form it all with the Oreos.
No, I put them in a separate bowl.
I couldn't see you. My screen went dark. I don't know what happened. I can hear you though.
Okay. So now that that is done, now for the fun part. All right. So now, as far as the peppermint, for the peppermint M&Ms, you don't crush those, and I have them in a smaller bowl. Now for the peppermint M&Ms, you use half a bag. But depending on how big your family is, then that determines how much that depends on how much ingredients that you need for this. And then for the chocolate almond bark, I'm going to put them in a bowl. So for the chocolate almond bark, I cut them before the Zoom call. And here's a little tip for people who are visually impaired that want to make this as well. The peppermint, the almond bark comes in sixes, so they come in 6 blocks, but they're all together. So to help it melt easier and quicker and a lot smoother, I cut all the squares.
Okay.
So all the squares have been cut. So now I'm going to put them in there. So now that the chocolate is all in a bowl, see. All right. Now I'm going to put them in the microwave. First, what I usually do is put the almond bark in the microwave, and I start it off for 1 minute. And then after that 1 minute ends, I will mix the peppermint bark, and then I put it in there for 30 more seconds, and then mix it again. Now when I'm stirring, I have to make sure that there are no lumps
Morningstar. He's
in
the
the
devil
top.
on earth. He's actually the devil, came from hell to earth.
And of course, I couldn't look at any of that while Mom was there because Mom would have had a heart attack. So that's no.
Weird. So you have to keep stirring it from the microwave, make sure it doesn't burn, right?
So you stir it that way just to get the lumps out, and then you put it in there for 30 more seconds.
Okay. So
And this also keeps the almond bark from burning.
Right. That's a great tip.
So the 1 minute is done. So now I'm going to take it out, and then, okay, where in God's blazes is my spoon? Here it is. Okay.
Been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
You're doing a great job, by the way. You were doing a fantastic job, and we really appreciate it, and we can't wait to taste it. I wish you're gonna mail us some. Can you mail us each a little bit?
I won't be able to, it'll melt.
Aww.
But the good part about it is, since I'm telling you guys this recipe, y'all can make it from home.
Yes, we will. Don't worry. It just sounds so good right now.
Okay.
Chocolate
So
is
now that is all done. Now I have stirred it. So now I'm going to put it in for 30 more seconds.
Brianna, excuse me, it's Renee. Your video went off.
Oh. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay.
There you go. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We got her back.
All right. Yeah, I'm back. Okay. So then I'm going to start it up. for 30 seconds. And if it's still not ready, then you just, then you stir it back up and then put it back in for 30 seconds until it's all smooth and ready to go. Okay. So then, once that happens, now you're going to take your parchment paper.
I love parchment paper because it keeps stuff from sticking.
Yes, it keeps it from sticking, and it works a lot better.
Yeah, it keeps it
when you pick up your bark. Okay. So now, okay.
You got a big old piece there.
Okay. So we do that. And then I also have another very useful tip. Whenever I have my parchment paper ready, I feel out the sides of the cookie sheet and I fold the parchment paper so that way the parchment paper will stay at the shape it needs to be. So then I fold that and it's all ready. Now I'm going to check to see if the chocolate is all ready. So then I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to stir it again. Okay. All right. It's not ready yet, so I'm gonna have to put it back, but not for 30 seconds this time. Probably about 5 to 10 seconds. I'm going to put it in for 10 seconds.
Now, Brianna, do you think if somebody wanted to, could they use a double boiler? I've never used one, but they use those to melt chocolate, I think. Have you ever tried that?
Yes, but it's really, it's easier to do it with the microwave because you can actually control, you know, you can just control how much it can be in there, and
Okay.
it's a lot easier.
Okay. Brianna, honey, can you move that parchment paper? I don't know if you could tell, but it's right in the way of the camera. It's blocking.
Yeah.
Push it down a little bit. The parchment paper. Yeah, that's better. No, that's a little. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So now that's done, and now for the fun part. I'm going to take the cookie sheet and parchment paper. Okay. And I use a cake spatula because it's easier to get the chocolate out that way. So now I'm going to pour it all on there and get all of it, get all the nooks and crevices of the bowl.
That camera's on me now. What?
Okay. All right.
So you have to spread that. You have to spread that out on the parchment paper. I'm trying to see what you're doing. Okay. So you're taking the chocolate with the spatula and you're spreading it all over the parchment paper, making like a nice.
To spread it, I usually use the spoon. I use a spoon to spread it.
Okay. Do you make any particular shape or it doesn't matter?
What is that question?
I'm saying, do you make any particular shape? Do you try to make it square or oval, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter, but for me, I usually just spread it out in the shape of the cookie sheet. Okay, and here is another very helpful tip for people who are blind and visually impaired. With peppermint bark, it is the consistency, the chocolate has to be the consistency of a Hershey's Kiss chocolate. So it has to be that thin. So right now, I am spreading everything. I'm spreading everything on here. Okay. So I have to get all the corners. I have to get it all. And then make sure I get all the corners. All right, now that is done, now the order for this bark. First, you take the Oreos and you put them all on the almond chocolate.
Okay, you just sprinkle them on top?
Yes,
That
you
sounds,
sprinkle it all on top.
that sounds like fun.
Yes.
You ever eat any of it while you're making it? You ever eat any Oreos?
No.
No, you don't cheat? Take a bite? I don't know if I could wait.
No. It's worth the
I love
it's all worth the wait.
Yeah, good point.
Mm. Yeah. And okay. So I'm still sprinkling it all on here. And as far as the Oreos, if a little bit or a lot of the mint cream sticks to the bowl, it's completely fine because you have the other mint elements on it as well.
Okay. I didn't even know they made peppermint Oreos. That's how long I haven't bought them in ages, but I know they have several flavors. So what they must have come out with that, a while ago.
Yeah. Okay. So now that that's done, I usually take the same red spatula and I spread all the Oreos out. I spread it all out. Okay. And so now for the candy canes, the crushed up candy canes.
Yes, the crushed up candy canes. That's the best part.
Yes. And then you just take them and you sprinkle them all. And then once that's done.
This is a dentist's dream with all this sugar, It's a dentist's dream.
Yep. And then I take that and I spread that all around. Spread that all around with the mint Oreos and just push all of that in.
Peppermint is so good for you. They say, if you want to wake up in the morning to smell peppermint, I imagine when you take a bite of this, it just wakens up your taste buds.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
your dog. I see a picture
Now,
of your doggy.
yeah. And then,
Oh, that sounds.
okay.
I'm just-
Last but certainly not least, you take these peppermint M&Ms and you just sprinkle it all on to the peppermint bark. And when you're doing this, you have to do it slow enough to not get them all squished together, but you also have to do it fast enough so the chocolate doesn't harden.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what you were saying before. You can't have that chocolate harden before you spread everything on it, right?
Nope.
The
Okay.
next ingredient is what? Your M&Ms?
Yes, that's what I'm putting on now.
Oh, you are. What color are those peppermint M&Ms? Do they
The
come in?
peppermint M&Ms are all the Christmas colors, red, green, and white.
So pretty. It's not only tastes good, it's visually appealing. And even though you got blind or visually impaired people, they still want their food to look good, right?
Yes.
It's very appealing.
And yes, and after I get done with this, I have the second batch that you've asked me to make, and I'll show everybody what that looks like so they'll get an idea of what it's supposed to look like once it's all done. And once you put it in the freezer, you're supposed to let it harden for about 1 to 2 hours.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. You can make it the same day as you want to give it out then, possibly.
Yes.
Brianna,
But
sweetie,
for me,
Brianna, honey, when you're done spreading that all out, we want to see what you made. So if you'd be so kind to move that, there's, I think, a bowl in front of your camera.
yes.
Glass bowl. Can you move that
Yeah.
aside when you're ready to show the peppermint bar? So we can.
All right.
All right, thank you.
And now, here it is.
Oh, no.
This is the peppermint bark.
There you go. Okay, lean it a little more towards the camera. Tilt it a little bit more. Lift it up higher. Lift up a little higher, and then tilt it towards away from you. Tilt it away from you. The pan.
Don't spill it. Don't spill it.
No, the other way. The other way, honey. A little bit more. We don't want it to fall out, but now we can see it better. Yes, thank you. That's beautiful. The camera doesn't do it justice with the color, but we can imagine that it's beautiful with the candy canes and the red and green M&Ms and white. That's beautiful.
Yes. And then,
Do you have anything else you want to share with us? Do you want to tell us about your recipe or anything before we close your segment?
yes, I'm going to, with this peppermint bark, another really cool thing is that with this peppermint bark, it is really, really good with hot chocolate. I usually dip mine in my hot chocolate.
Yes, that sounds good.
Yes.
Thank you, Brianna. Thank you so much for going through all this trouble and all this work to make your peppermint bark. I know it's very close to your heart. You love making it. You've been making it for at least over 5 years. But we want to tell our audience that if they want to hear more about you and what you do, that they would go to the Cooking Without Looking podcast. And you guys know how to get podcasts. You go to Spotify, you can go to iTunes, you can go to Google, and get wherever you get your podcasts. Look for Cooking Without Looking podcast because it's amazing. There's over 40 episodes there. And you can look for Brianna Lawson's podcast. I highly recommend it. I listened to it twice, and it just really motivated and inspired me. So thanks again, Brianna. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now, an old friend of ours is back to give us some expert tips if you happen to be a blind person cooking for the holidays. In this edition of Food for Thought, we welcome Sylvia Stinson Perez, the Director of Older Individuals Who Are Blind Technical Assistance Center at the National Research and Training Center on Blindness and Low Vision at Mississippi State University. Welcome, Sylvia.
Thank you, Alan. Super glad to be with you guys today.
Yes, thank you.
Listen, I have to say, like right now, my mouth is totally watering. I'm like, oh my God, I just want that peppermint bark right now.
I bet you do. And all the recipes that you saw today, Sylvia, we're just curious if you can offer our virtual audience or any of us any tips for the blind and visually impaired for cooking. Do you have any tips for us, Sylvia?
I do, and I have to say that I kind of took some notes as we were going along. I heard some great tips that I want to emphasize, and I'll add a couple.
Okay.
Definitely get all of your ingredients in advance. And I love Annette's idea of pre-measuring out everything in advance. So not just getting everything together, but pre-measuring so that it makes it really easy. Also working over a tray or a really small area where you have everything in one place. So if you work over a tray and you happen to spill, it's on a tray.
Good idea. Love that.
So on salt and pepper or any spices, a great easy way to get those, because I don't know about you guys, I have gotten too much salt, too much pepper, too much of lots of things by sprinkling. You can pour it into your hand and get a little bit, or shake it into your hand. But another great way is to dip it. So sometimes with your spice jars, they don't really allow you to do that, but the ones where you can pull off the lids, I do that and then just dip the little teaspoons or whatever inside of it to get the right amount. But you could also just change the jars so that you can dip in. And that's for liquids too, thinking about like vanilla extract. You know, losing extracts costs a lot of money. So pouring those into little jars that you can then dip in is a really helpful thing.
Oh, I love that tip, because I do what you say. I open and take the plastic off where you sprinkle, and I do put a little teaspoon in there. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
I never thought of for the liquids as much. So that's
yeah, it works really good. And I was thinking about with the jar, how you were pouring the sauce into the jar, and that you could, if you have a really hard time, I always say, you know, let the container you're pouring from, like a measuring cup, touch the jar you're pouring into. But another thing is, if that's really tough, is to use a funnel, to pour into the funnel. And that makes sure you get it in without spilling.
I love my funnel. Oh my God, this is the best thing. So I just love it. It always helps from spills.
Yeah, and finally with Brianna, I love, you know, her idea of using those Ziplocs.
Yes.
And using her hands to tell if the Oreos and the candy canes were crushed. That is really what a lot of us have to do. And then the one thing I would say is, I wonder if you could have actually spread those Oreos and candy canes and M&Ms from the Ziploc versus pouring them into a bowl. Just, you know, shaking it, using an overlapping kind of a grid pattern, start in one corner, go down to the next corner, move over, and just to have the Ziploc to spread them onto the chocolate versus having the bowl to do it. So just a thought I had as I was listening to her. But mostly I was thinking about how I just wanted to eat that. I'm like you, Annette. I would eat an M&M, eat an Oreo, then pour some, then chop some. Yeah, I'm with you. But great job, everyone. All of it sounded amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Sylvia. Alan, do you have anything else to add?
One of the things I do, I put things in a Ziploc bag, and then I use a rubber mallet to break them up rather than a rolling pin. I don't know, I'm the old mechanic kind of person, got a rubber mallet, you know, I ran it through the dishwasher so it's clean, and that works well, but keeping it in the plastic bag keeps the stuff from flying all over the place.
Oh, I like that. That's the judge in you. I object.
How about if we take some questions from our virtual audience now? Can you help us out, Renee? I don't know. I'd like to hear.
This is Jody, and I have a question.
Hey, Jody.
That's fine.
I have a question for Annette.
Yes, Jody.
She's talking about the cashews and soaking them for at least 2 hours. What do you soak them in, and how much liquid?
Okay, well, let's say you're using half a cup. You just soak them, you put the water so it just goes over the top.
Oh, just water. Okay.
Purified water is good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. That was a nice little tip. That sounds like a good idea. Do we have other questions from the audience? I thought that stuff was really good. That almond bark sounds great. And your cheese sauce, that sounded pretty good too. I think between that and the jerk turkey, we could have quite a dinner here, couldn't we?
I think so. We got the dessert, we got the entree, we had some chips, and we have pasta, and then we get a turkey. I think we could do it. We should all get together after COVID and have a dinner.
I agree. That sounds great. You know, this isn't too bad working in a virtual reality like this, but I got to tell you, I really miss being together with you guys. There's something about just being together. Sure, we'll be glad when all this is over.
Yeah, I agree. But then nobody would saw your great kitchen, Alan.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't have had to spend yesterday cleaning it, so it was nice for everybody.
It is very pretty, though. It looks very nice. It looks like you have quite a bit of equipment in there.
Well, thank you. I do have, I kind of designed it myself the way I liked it with the existing space I had. And I don't know if you see it in the back, but one of the little tips I like to use, I have magnetic utensil holders, if you see them on the walls. Well, actually, my head's in front. Well, anyway, you see the one just over my shoulder there. It helps me to find things, especially sharp knives, without getting my fingers hurt. And they're always right there. I keep them in a specific order. You can keep them in whatever order works well for you. But I can just reach up and I can tell by feel exactly what I got.
I love that. I do that with my measuring spoons. I put them on the fridge from, tablespoon down to 1/8 of a teaspoon, like in the order, so I could grab it too. Just these little things we take for granted, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's tons of things we do every day in order to cook in the kitchen, and we just take it for granted now because we just do it. We don't realize we're doing it because we're visually impaired. And they can help people that aren't visually impaired as well.
Well, you and I have been visually impaired for a long time. We've been cooking a long time. We kind of get used to this stuff. I put things in different shaped containers. I use my nose to smell things, my fingers to feel the texture of things, and my ears to hear how things are cooking. But these are little tips that if you've recently lost your eyesight, you may not think about right away. And that's one of the things that I like to do is give out these kind of tips on the show. So
I have a question.
Oh, I have a question.
Can you hear me? Yes, this is Tom in Orlando.
Hi, Tom.
I've been a cook. I mean, I've cooked dinner, most of my life and, been cooking. And I just went blind 3 years ago. I'm starting to get back into cooking, but what has helped me is preparing like a whole meal in a oven dish and put it in the oven. And my small little crock pot really helps. But I'm just still afraid of the stovetop myself right now. Any suggestions?
Well, one of the things that I like are small appliances. I'm a little concerned about my stovetop too. I got one of those flat top things, and
I do too.
To heat up, and it takes forever to cool off, and I hate that. But what I have is I have a little induction cooking hot plate that I set on top of there if I'm just going to boil some water or use one pot. You do have to have special cookware for them, but that cookware.
Yes, I heard that. Yeah.
They're faster, they're easier, and the surfaces don't get as it does like on a stove. I also have one of those little George Foreman style grills. I say style because I got it at a store that sells off-brand stuff. I use a toaster, and I think you can see in the background my little toaster oven, simply because these small appliances are much easier, and for me, I believe they're safer for me.
Ellen, this is Sylvia. And so the tip that I would say is that everything is about practice.
Yes. Okay.
And the more you're able to practice, the better, and the more confident and comfortable you'll feel. But try one thing at a time and start with like using, one front burner until you're like really confident about where is the right place to place that. And there are some ways you can mark the right place, but it's really, I would recommend, having a vision rehab teacher a rehab teacher kind of help you with that, but figuring that out. But start with one thing at a time. And so my kind of rule for that too is until you get really confident, just do one stovetop thing at a time. but stay with it. Don't
Okay.
like step away, so you
Yeah.
can have a lot more control. Until you get really, really confident, then you can add a second thing that you're cooking at the same time. And then eventually you can feel a little more comfortable about walking away, because you can learn to hear and smell and just have a more better spatial sense. But start small with that stove top. And I can tell you that I cannot see. And it took me a while to be confident with that, because I was very confident with cooking, but then when I moved to that flat top, it took me a little bit of time. But I became, very comfortable with cooking multiple things at the same time.
Okay.
And I still don't walk away though.
Yeah. I do have a little Cuisine grills and panini makers, and that really works really well, because I do like the smaller appliances. I'm getting used to them, and I've been doing some dinners in I just got a little small crock pot, but it's I've been doing dinners in them and in that, and I learned how to cook oatmeal in a crock pot.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's are wonderful. You can do a lot of things in them.
yeah. But I'm just, I'm getting back into it and enjoying it little by little. But thank you.
Good. And thank you for watching.
This has been really neat. And you say you have the podcasts. You can go to Cooking Without Looking. Is that what it's called?
Yes, Renee, would you like to tell them how to get into our podcasts?
Sure, Tom. It's Cooking Without Looking. We're on podbean.com. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. We're on all of them.
Yeah, because I just with my iPhone, I just asked Siri to pull up a name of a podcast, and it comes right up.
Sure. I'm not sure if this works this way, but any of those will work for you.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
You're going to get better in the kitchen. You can come on and cook on our show.
All right. All right. That means I have to clean.
Keep the faith.
But
for those of you who are wondering, that was Lynx, my guide dog. Anytime I'm any place, he's always he likes to lay on my feet. Yeah, let me show you again. He's right here laying on my foot. I don't know how well you can see him, but
he's a big boy.
Lynx. We've been together for about 6 years now. He's about 8 years old, and he is an absolutely wonderful guide dog. Without him, I would have been flattened already. Thank you, Lynx. And thank you, Leader Dog. Can I throw in a little commercial for Leader Dog? Was that a good thing?
Sure.
Do we have any other questions from our virtual audience?
Yes, Regina from Henderson, Nevada. Hello, everyone.
Regina, yes.
Hi,
Yes,
Regina.
I have a question for Annette. Annette, when you did your sauce, I didn't understand one of the ingredients, and I think it was right after you soaked the cashews. There was
Oh, okay.
between the cashews and the turmeric. I didn't understand what that other ingredient was.
I think it was probably the nutritional yeast. Can you see this?
Oh,
I get this
no.
at Walmart or Whole Foods. It's become that popular. It's just made from yeast, but it doesn't have that yeast quality like a candida, bad thing. It's full of vitamins and minerals, and especially B12. That's what it's known for. So especially when you're vegan, you're supposed to take B12 because you don't get it from what the animals eat. The animals eat greens, but that's how people who eat meat get B12. Since we don't eat meat, then we take B12 through nutritional yeast. And this is great as a thickener. You can use it on popcorn. It's great for popcorn. It gives it that cheesy, it's like a cheesy flavor.
So the yeast is a cheese flavor?
Yeah, it has a cheesy flavor.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where the cheese came from.
Yeah, check out, I didn't say that, but it is a cheesy flavor and it's full of the B vitamins. And like I said, you get it at Walmart. It's about $5 and change.
Okay.
Order it on Amazon as well.
And it's called nutritional yeast.
Nutritional yeast seasoning. It comes in a yellow It's about 6 inches tall. It has a yellow cap, and the brand name is Bragg's. Bragg's Nutritional Yeast. That's the company that makes it. There's a couple other companies, but that's the most popular.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
That's helpful. And you should
Okay,
go.
thank you so much, Annette.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We have some other questions from our audience today.
Regina again. I just have a comment to Brianna. Was that her name, Brianna?
Yes.
Yes. Brianna, I just want to thank you because I think you are exceptional. You've learned a lot as a 20-year-old, and you are very inspiring. So keep up the good work, stay in the kitchen, and keep learning and keep making beautiful meals. I'm really excited to see that you have an awareness and you have an appreciation for cooking. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And Sylvia, especially thank you guys for helping set this whole thing up. And Renee and everybody that's been working in the background to make sure this works right. And for all of you people that have been watching us today, thank you for tuning in to our Cooking Without Looking Quarantine Cuisine second show today. Thank you again for watching Cooking with.
Thank you for joining us, and come back again. We'll be here next month as well.
Thank you.